Well, good afternoon, Miss Vicky and everybody else. Uh, I'm going to just quickly try to reproduce a file that Vicky has been working on with a trail horse with some text underneath it with Hyperfont, and just to show her what I do. Now, I have pulled an image from the internet of a trail riding horse, and here I go. I'm going to open up a new hoop, and although I have Photoshop and PaintShop Pro, and I know Vicky does, because other people don't, I'm going to pull the horse up first of all in the draw package to check it. Open an existing image, okay, and there it is. I've called it Trail Rider. And this is going to open up the horse in the drawing package. And I don't know if you can make that out on your screen, but I can see that it's actually grey and white rather than black and white. So what I'm going to do is come up here to this button here which says color reduction, if you can see that, and it's seeing at the moment a black and a white. You can click on the suggest if you don't have the list there, and I want to change the grey, so I need to edit that. So I'm not picking the white, I'm picking the grey from here and clicking on edit, and then I'm going to click on the black and say OK. And now when I say OK, it's going to convert everything on there that was grey into that black, and leaving me just with the black and white image. And the other thing that I can see on here, if I zoom in just a little bit, for me, that line of the reins there and there is just a little bit too small and may not be picked up. If items that are too small will not be picked up by Hyperfont, so sorry, by Autopunch. So I'm going to come to my pen tool. I'm on the black here, the same as the black of the horse, just the small size in the brush, and I'm just going to come up and just make those just a little bit thicker to make sure that they will be seen in Autopunch. So that was the reins there, and the same here. That looks, it might work, but to me it's just looking a little bit too thin. So I'm just going to come and thicken up these reins here, and oops, that's fine. I've gone too thick, but what I'm going to do now is use my right mouse, which is white, and I'm just going to come and sort of take off what I don't want, add what I do and take off what I don't. I'm actually sitting on the floor doing this on the carpet, so it's not so easy, but you can take your time and play around with it. The main thing is I've got rid of the really fine lines that were there. If I come back and let's go so there we have the image on the screen that we're going to use, and I'm now going to close it. Save changes to image, yes. I'm going to call it, well, I'll leave it there with the Trail Rider BMP. Save, and that puts me back into the Singer screen. First thing I'm going to do is select the hoop and a small hoop, which is what Vicki wants to use, and I can already see that the size is outside of the boundaries on the margins, if you like, of the hoop. So at some point I'm going to have to reduce this down, and at the moment it's still the image on a screen, it's not a stitch file. So now I have to run it quickly through Autopunch. The image is there on the screen, so I just need to go next, and this is where I crop it down to get it to get rid of a lot of the excess size outside of the image that I want. Now I know that Vicki needs this about 4 inches in width, so as I type 4 in here, it's proportional and it's automatically changed the height to match the width that I selected. So next, and let's see what it suggests. And because we saw in the draw package that there was only 2 colours, that's all we've seen here, the black and the white. And at this stage I'm not going to remove the white background because part of this image, the white is in enclosed areas like here and in here, and if I remove it at the moment it'll probably turn those black, which I don't want. So I'm just going to leave them there, and I will alter and remove those in a different screen. And okay, this classifying the blocks, step 5, it's saying anything smaller than 9mm make satin, anything larger than the 9mm fill. I want everything as much as possible filled on this design, so I'm going to drag that down. So anything smaller than 2mm it will column, everything else it's going to fill, and that's what I'm wanting it to do, fill as much as possible. So next, and it's going to now put the image into a format for stitching. And on the preview window here, I don't know if you can make it out on the screen, but there's a grey area here. That's representing the white background, as you can see by these blocks here. So we've got the horse and then we've got the blocks which are white. I don't want those. So over here, stitch blocks that have the same colour. I'm going to remove that, and that just leaves me with the horse, which is all I'm wanting. So I'm going to put my preview back on and say next. And this is where we get to play with the type of stitching. I want it filled. It's on step. You all know me. I'm going to change my density to 3. Okay. I want it to have a fill underlay. I want it to have an edge walk underlay just to give it a bit more dimension. And I'm going to say next and use a running or a jump stitch. If you have a problem with your machine and you get a needle breaking because on the long jump stitches, because your thread's too tight or it gets wrapped up on something, then use the running stitch to go between blocks. But I don't have a problem, so I'm going to leave mine on jump stitch and finish. And there you can see it's reduced the size down to the 4. It fits it within the hoop. And if I view realistic view, there we have the image on the screen. Let me come into 300. So there we have the image on the screen, and Vicki wanted it outlined, a running stitch outline, just to neaten up the edge a little bit. So for that, what I do is I select the image itself, I come up here to my outline edit, and then I come into design, embroidery settings, and on here you will see running stitch outline. So I'm going to apply that, and after I've applied it I'm going to stitch it when it allows me to stitch it, and as soon as it's done that I'm going to close this box, come out, and you can see what it's done. It's put in a line, running stitch line around the outside, which is just neatened up that edge a little bit, which, well, I think it's neatened it up a little bit. Let's come back to the size. And then the other thing, Vicki wants to put some text underneath it, so I'm going to lift that up nearer to the top, move it over a little bit, making sure I stay within the hoop, click off it to reposition it, and that's given us enough room underneath here to add the hyperfont. So here we go up here, into hyperfont next, and cowboy cowboy life, I think is what Vicki wanted. And then I'm coming to select the font. I don't know what, well, I do know what font. I don't have the font that Vicki used, but I do have a Western font that I'm going to use. Come up here to normal, okay, next, and I want it filled, which is fine, and I'm going to say finish, and there it's put it on center as always. I'm going to bring it down underneath the horse, and here I can make any changes to the height and the size that I want, or the fill patterns, but at the moment I'm just going to stitch it and then see if we need to adjust anything after. Let's zoom in a little bit larger just to see what see what that's done. And I'm thinking it looks a little bit scraggly here on the points of this particular font. Some fonts obviously do better than others. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the letter C, and watch carefully, Vicky. I'm coming up here to outline edit, and that letter A appears. I'm going to turn it off, and you can see the A is gone. I'm going to turn it on again, and there's the A. And if I click on that, it highlights the font again, and it brings up all my editing choices. I'm going to go into my embroidery settings, and in here I'm going to say running stitch outline, and apply that, and then stitch it, and I'm going to close this box off, and you can see what that's done. It's actually made the points better. That's just a jump stitch there and there. It's made the points better because it's stitching them with a small outline. So let's come up to size for size. So there you have your file finished and ready to stitch out. If you wanted to change the fill pattern of the horse, then come up into your outline edit, come into your design embroidery settings and stitch type, and at the moment we're on a step satin. We can have step angles. I apply that, you can see it change on the screen. So it's just changed the pattern on the screen there, which is fine. You can alter the angle if you want, but I'm going to leave it at that, so I'm going to stitch it. Just giving you a little bit of different texture on there. Let's come back to the 100%, and there you just have a different texture to the horse, and I think that is a fairly reasonable representation of what you were doing, Vicki. There are other things that you can do. If you select the whole design, and again come into outline edit, embroidery settings, if you know that you're stitching on a t-shirt, I can see here my densities on 3, but if I come up here to my preset fabrics, and let's find the closest thing we can to, here we go, like jersey knit, would you say that was close? Or sweatshirt, pullover, work clothes. I think a jersey knit type polo or a picnic. 2 layers of medium cutaway, ballpoint needle, medium cutaway backing, ballpoint needle. It gives you that. But watch how the settings change when I click OK. It's now taken the density to 4.4, and that's to compensate, like the stretch it's put on, to compensate for that knitted fabric. So I'm going to close out of that, turn that off. So there's some other things that you can look at. So that's more or less finished, but there's one thing I do want to mention as well now. We have that on the screen, and the moment I save it, Hyperfont is assuming that the graphic is fine, but any text that you create is something that you may want to adjust, alter, change at a different time. So if I come into Save Me Design as, so I'm going to say, Vic Trail, I'm going to call this image, and I'm going to say OK to that. If I close this and then open it again, what's going to happen, it's going to leave the horse alone because that's a graphic image, but the text, it knows it's text, and it's going to open it up again in different colors, so I can actually make changes to the text, which you can't normally do in a previously digitized image unless you convert it to stitches. So just let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to close this image out. I'm not going to save the Victrail VFE because it doesn't matter at this stage. here we go, Vic Trail, and there it's brought it up in different, with a different color scheme. Let's come in at 200. The same patterns are there, it's got the same outlines there, but it has got different colors because, as I say, it's assuming that you want to edit and make changes. But you know, in this case that we don't, all you would need to do, I can't send it because I'm not connected to my machine, but if you transmitted this to the machine and then click your mono button for monogram, mono button, that will stitch everything in the same color. That's basically what you're saying, is just stitching one color, and that's one way of getting over this monotone. That was the word I was thinking of, monotone. Alternatively, you can come in here and actually start changing these. You can say, let's come down here, let's come back to one-on-one. We can select everything and we can tell everything to be black. Okay, and there we have everything black again, which is the same as telling it to be monochrome or monotone on the transmit box. We do need to come back to our small hoop and center the design, and then view, realistic view. And what it's going to stitch out is the horse first, block 1, then the outline of the horse, then the letter C with the C outline, and I can show you that in redraw view. So here it's putting in the fill for the basic part of the horse. I can't speed it up anymore. I can zoom in just a little bit, making sense. So here comes the underlay fill, and then you can see that it hasn't got the outline yet. That first line there is that edge underlay. So it's bringing in. I can actually speed it up. If I stop that and just go to the next block, that will finish the horse off. Now if I continue, the second block, it will be the outline around the horse. So if I play now, there you can see it's putting in the outline of the horse. And then if I come down here, when it's done that, it's coming down to do the letter C, and then C's outline, O and the outline. So stop there, let's go to the end and come out of the realistic view, come back to size. But hopefully that's answered your questions, Vicky. Good luck with it, and I'll catch up with you later, sweetie. Bye, everybody.